Opposite Gloves here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this lead sound right here. So that's the sound, and we're going to be learning how to make it. And some of you guys may dig it, some of you may not. It's a lead sound. I was asked to try and make something like this. And so my sound resembles the sound. Like you can tell, like, oh yeah, I'm trying to sound like that. But my sound is not that sound. I just didn't nail it. Sorry about that. But I also have a theory that this sounds like sort of a pitched trumpet sample that they were messing with. It might not be synthesis at all. I don't know. So I tried to synthesize it. That's the route I went. And if you're curious, the track is called Hot Girls featuring Elena. I think that's how you say it. Elena. I don't know where. No, it is Elena. And titled Donnie featuring Elena, Hot Girls, whatever. Go look it up. It's out there. And that's the lead sound that they have in it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a try. It's sort of a groovy lead sound. But sound like this, though. Listen to the amount of noise in that. It's just like just a ton of noise. And some with this, you can tell that it's been compressed quite hard. And that actually affects the character of this quite a bit. I didn't bother to recreate that aspect, mostly because my sound, I never got to the point where my sound sounded like their sound, like accurately. I just got to something that was similar. So let's go ahead. Now this sound, fundamentally, I originally started with just this sound. That was the sound, right? And then I added in the noise, which is this right here. And you notice it's not normal noise as I play the track. And there's that too. So it's just mimicking the actual sound. And then to top it off, I have a direct wave. And now this direct wave is a trumpet sound. I was messing with trumpets, so I layered that in there. That actually helped quite a bit. If I would go through and dig through other trumpets, though. I'm not totally satisfied with this trumpet. I don't like the way it sounds. But whatever, this is the one I went with. So let's go to the synthesis side of things. So if I take this is a combination of two parts, part A and part B. And I know there's a lot of buttons moving around and stuff. Don't worry too much. They're pretty straightforward moves. So the first thing I listen to this and I say, wow, there's a lot of noise. And there's that sort of tonal aspect. The structure of it sounds more like an interval than it does, or a harmony or a separate note than it does as a thing. But it sounds like they're playing one note as well. So I determined that it was a part B mimicking whatever that was doing, and they just settled on some sort of ratio. That's what I did. So this is just part A, and this is part B. Both of them are actually pretty cool leads all on their own. So anyways, let's with them together. They are a pretty nifty thing to have together. Now, the style of writing here is a little bit different. If we play some lower notes, kind of a cool deal. And of course, there's quite a bit of spectrum I filtered out that you could put back in if you so desired. Now, on this part A, part A is a saw wave, but you'll see that this does not look like a saw wave. That's because I messed with the spectrum here. On the timbre, I settled on this. This was a result of an experiment. I liked what it did, so I stuck with it. So this is the timbre that I settled on. Shaved off some of the high end, and I did an interesting move with the harmonizer. So you see the harmonizer's shift is 0. And this makes it so that when I move this guy up and down, it will essentially emphasize square, odd harmonics or even harmonics, whatever. Every other harmonic. So this would be the odd harmonics. This emphasizes the odd harmonics in the spectrum. So you can hear that square quality. So I have that like sort of hidden in my texture. It's, whatever. Synth behavior, the way it plays the note. So let's talk about that. So as I play, it's a pretty cool like gliding thing around. So I set my speed like so. And this is what I settled on for the legato and the portamento. I pointed at the vibrato speed. I spent my time as so. And I have both legato. Legato allows me to do this. And portamento is the thing that gives me the bend. So if I hit a note down here and I hit a note up here, it creates that wah. That's the portamento in action. And so that is very apparent in theirs. And so I went for that. And that's what I did. After that, so we've already talked about this is square harmonics, the filters. Oh, interesting thing on this guy. This guy has, and so does the other guy, they both have a high pass and a low pass so that I can narrow in. So it's basically a band pass filter. And I didn't want to use a band pass though, because this gives me more control over where those points are than the band pass does in here. So I went for a low pass and a high pass on this one. The EQ looks like this. And the notes I'm playing are in this range. So this particular area is of most importance. So I made a couple changes to the shape I settled on. So you can mess with your own shapes. After that, we go through the effects, and you'll notice there's not that much going on. There is a chorus. Then this chorus has the depth and speed. Speed's been brought down. The depth's been brought up. That was just I messed with choruses enough now to where I kind of know what it's going to sound like when I do various things. This is a very common thing I do. It's one of my go-to moves now, I guess. And then if we come over here, we also notice that I have a unison order 5. Unison sounds very different than chorus. And they'll say that they sound similar. Sure, they sound similar, but they sound similar in the way my sound sounds similar to this sound. They do not sound the same. And so I went with unison on this one. I brought the pan. I think I brought the pan down a little bit. I forgot where the default value is, but I messed with it. I did not touch the phase, and I touched the what is this? The detune, the pitch variation. And so that's what I said on. I didn't want it too detuned, but just a little bit. And so that's, again, this side sounds like this. And that's it. I didn't mesh with anything else really, except for I did mess with a couple other things, but I didn't mess with them in this way. I experimented with them and took them off. One was the pitch. I tried changing the pitch slightly over time. That was a bad idea. Don't do that unless you're going for a different effect. And I messed with the volume envelope, and I undid that because that was also a bad idea. So I guess, I don't know why I'm telling you moves that didn't work out, but I messed with those things as well. Next, we go over to part B. Part B sounds like this. And part B has a similar spectrum feel to it. This one's actually flat. I was messing with getting rid of the fundamental, and I determined to keep it. I liked it more what it did. I did a similar high pass, low passing to control the ends of my spectrum. The unison, the pan's been brought up, and the pitch variation's much lower. The similar thing, these are actually, I believe these are global settings. You can change the timing on one and the other, but this one, it says global. Like this one will apply to the whole synth, so it's going to behave like that. So this matches a similar behavior, so I don't need to worry about that. If we go into the effects, this is also something that is global and will affect both A and B at the same time. The EQ is quite a bit different, though. You see, I scoop out a lot of the low, and I settled on this shape. Experimentation, that's all it was. So settled on this, and that is what I ran with. Now you'll notice that the pitch, I lowered it an octave, and then I raised this guy by 0.5, so half an octave. And that, when you put them together, you get that. And I thought that was a pretty cool sound. I was like, hey, it's sort of there. This is where I started entering the battle of, can I get it closer to this? And I'm sitting here going, So you know how it is. Okay, so let's go into 17. And now here, I've got a couple things going on. You see it's actually getting doubled here. It just basically makes it louder. I had stuff on the send, and you notice I even turned the send off. So this was an experiment. Now I came over here. I have a wave shaper. It's a really light wave shaper. If I take the effects off, that's what it sounds like. Just the wave shaper. Without it. So I'm just shaping it a little bit, adding a little bit of harmonics to my sound, not very much. Next, I go through an EQ, which is a pretty intense filtering chain. This is the result of messing with a lot of just experimenting a bunch. So I settled on this EQ. Then to Maximus. So the EQ is just shaping the spectrum. To Maximus, we go, and in it, I expand the mids and highs. I do this a lot in Maximus. I don't touch any of the controls except this graph. And so occasionally I reach for the controls if I want something specific, but in this case, I just wanted to bring up those areas of the spectrum, and so I used Maximus to do that. It does it a little bit differently, the way Maximus does it, so I quite like it, so I go to it a lot. And then over here we have another EQ, and this one I was comb filtering, essentially just looking for spots to try and get closer to this. At this point, I am shoving my way into just trying to literally make certain frequencies be the same as the ones in that sound. This method won't work because if I play notes in any other range, they will not be the same notes. So this doesn't work in the long run, but it was an interesting idea. Without it, you can hear like the change. It's not like a substantial change. It's a small one. It is. I'm like trying to figure out. And at this point, I'm like, maybe the method I chose to do this was wrong, or maybe I just didn't. I don't know. If any of you guys get closer, you let me know. Drop a video. Okay, so that is that guy, right? So that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You also notice that these guys have different time settings. Not a big deal. And I grabbed the speed setting on this one by accident. And so let's come over here and go over to the next guy. So we have already talked about the noise, but you notice it's not regular noise. So I send it out of here, and if I turn off this, that's all that, it's just noise, okay? But once I turn on the effects on this channel, it's going through an EQ, which is shaping it, and then the chorus. Now, we've already looked at this, so I'm just going to call that good. And let's move on down to the trumpet. So this is the trumpet. I did touch a couple things on this trumpet. You notice it still has that pitch bend, so I turned on the glide. I do not use direct wave very often. I grabbed it because my hard drive is in my backpack, and I was too lazy to go and grab it and plug it in so I could get to contact. So I'm just using what came with FL. And so I happened to know, and I downloaded the free content from the content downloader or whatever, and the trumpet's included. So I was like, great. So I opened it up, and that's when I realized this is a very smooth sounding trumpet, and I didn't really dig through for other trumpets. But if you hit this down arrow, you can see we have like all these different, let's go over to orchestral. I went to orchestral right there, brass, and then I was like, oh, look at trumpeted. How great is that? But I did not dig through other places. Maybe I could find some other cool sounds in here. So, but anyways, I turned glide on. It looks like something that would give me the ability to glide things. So, and then I turned the distortion on without it. I liked it. It's really, I'm not sure really now if it's doing anything. That's what I set it on. I turned it on, did that. I was like, great, distortion, do distortion. But it doesn't sound like it's doing anything at this point. Anyways, and I layered that in there. And what I got was this sound, the final sound. Now I added drums just to get something sort of a thing. If you take away the drums, the noise, it's really hard to make judgments about how the noise is going to come through without the drums. So that is what I settled on. That's that sound. So you can see that's why I said at the beginning, I'm going to show you how to make this sound. I'm not going to show you how to really, I'm going to show you how I attempted to make that sound. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.